Welcome, nutritionradio.org listeners. This is Lonnie Lowry, a university nutrition professor of over 20 years and podcast host of long-running shows like Iron Radio. Come on in. Hey, Nutrition Radio listeners. This is Lonnie Lowry, of course, and we're going to do our last episode of Season 1. Season 1 was a compilation of 10-minute, roughly, episodes. We've been doing it 100 times now. Oftentimes on Friday, of course, we would do Fitness Fridays. And today's brief episode sort of fits that bill, but we're going to stick to the listener question because, again, we're at the end of Season 1 here. It's just going to be different coming up in Season 2, though. We're going to change the format. We're just going to have similar topics, but they're going to be condensed into a single episode that we record on the weekend and put it out once a week. In any case, thank those of you who have been commenting and, just tuning in when you can. We have a small, hardcore group. We kind of started that way. We still have it. It's a new podcast. I get it. Season 1 was something to learn new technologies when it comes to podcasting and that kind of thing. And we're going to apply them to revamping Iron Radio as well. Most of you know that that's a very fitness and weightlifting-oriented podcast. In any case, let's get to our last topic, listener question. I mentioned this last time. This is from Zuzuri5. The peptide conversation at the end got me thinking. I may be wrong, but I don't recall that you've spoken about NMN. And, buddy, you're right. We were just talking about that in Florida. I don't think this Season 1, which has covered so many topics, would really be quite complete unless we talked about these NAD boosters. I pulled a couple of papers. Let's check these out. This first one is a paper, 2021, from Nadishani and colleagues, the Journal of Advanced Research. Nicotinamide mononucleotide, so NMN, as an anti-aging health product, promises and safety concerns. Maybe I should preface this by saying I actually bought several bottles of True Niagen. That's a similar compound that also boosts NAD called nicotinamide riboside, or NR. And I took it over a period of maybe a year after I saw some pretty compelling evidence at an ASN, American Society of Nutrition conference. Since that time, I've actually stopped buying it. I get it that it's not necessarily something that you're going to feel. I'm in my 50s, so this is the kind of thing that probably applies to me more than a younger person. It is sort of a neat concept that you can boost NAD. It's so central to metabolism, right? Our central wheel of metabolism, the Krebs cycle, that's one of its main features is that it sort of rejuvenates these NAD molecules so then you can cache them in the electron transport chain. And I'm not going to bore you with all the metabolism, but the fact that you could boost this and that might help correct some of the issues of aging, that's fascinating to me. So I gave it a shot. It was just so expensive. I mean, it was roughly $90 a bottle. And I just feel like at this point, there's probably some other things that I could be doing that might have a more immediate impact. Also, it's so early. There is some weird research that concerns me a little, and we're going to get to that. But I digress. Let's look at this Nadishani paper. It says the elderly population has been progressively rising in the world. I think we know that. Among various anti-aging health products, nicotinamide mononucleotide, NMN, has been getting attention. It says NAD levels in the body deplete with aging. This is associated with downstream energy production problems with mitochondria, oxidative stress, DNA damage. In fact, that's one of the things that really caught my eye is NAD being very important to allowing DNA repair as you age, cognitive impairment, and inflammatory conditions. However, NMN, again, this is one of the two big supplements that are purportedly boosting NAD, as the precursor to NAD can slow down this process by elevating NAD levels in the body. Later it says one preclinical and one clinical study have been conducted to investigate the safety concerns of NMN administration, while a few more human clinical trials are being conducted. Now, if we go look at the actual paper and don't just look at that beginning, I'm going to pull out a couple of tidbits here from the conclusions. NMN is a precursor of NAD, NAD+. I would call that the non-charged up molecule that approaches the Krebs cycle to get charged up. NMN is a precursor of NAD+, and an intermediate of NAD biosynthesis, which is achieved through 3 pathways. NMN is an intermediate byproduct of 2 of them. Now, it goes on to say NMN, as the precursor of NAD+, has been seen to likely reverse certain age-related complications and slow down the rate of aging by enhancing NAD levels in the body. But then it also sort of admits, this is the conclusion of this paper, Most of the works have been done in vitro or in animal models. So in a dish or in animal models. It says, published reports in humans are scarce. Only very few preclinical and clinical studies have been conducted to investigate the safety of long-term administration of NMN. Now, I'm going to read you a piece from Scientific American just a little bit here. Oh, my goodness, there are some concerns. I'm not super concerned. I'm just saying we just don't know enough yet, in my mind, that, I'm paying $90 a bottle for something that I just feel like needs more research. And since we're talking research, let me say I have gotten the jive here as I read multiple papers on the topic that you really have to look at the conflicts of interest of a lot of the people that are involved. I get it, some of the companies that are behind this, there's Nobel laureates participating in this sort of thing. But when I see some of these red flag words in my mind in some of these published works, yes, they're peer-reviewed. But, words like numerous and many and promising, and it overdoes a little bit of that. It does make me raise an eyebrow. I'm not saying that's the papers that I'm highlighting here. Here's one, though, that's going an extra step, not only buying into the idea that NAD boosters work, but what do you stack with them? This is called potential synergistic supplementation of NAD-promoting compounds as a strategy for increasing health span. This is by Sharma and colleagues. This is a paper from Nutrients 2023. It says, in recent years, numerous genoprotectors, senolytics, and other nutraceuticals have emerged as potential disruptors of aging. So now we've got terms like genoprotector or senolytic. It's almost like the word nootropic. Now there's buzz terms that we can sort of focus on. Just offering a few pull quotes from this paper here. It says, NAD is one of the primary coenzymes in metabolic processes and is involved in numerous other pathways, such as energy metabolism, stress adaptations, and circadian rhythm maintenance. NAD levels decline with age, and this decline can be attributed to the activity of an enzyme, particular enzyme, I won't bore you, responsible for the degradation of NAD+, which disrupts the NAD+ synthesis pathways. NAD can be synthesized de novo, right, or originally from nicotinic acid, right, niacin, nicotinamide riboside, NR, and nicotinamide mononucleotide, NMN. Or it can be salvaged through the NAD salvage pathway. Later it says disruption of proper NAD and loss of protective sirtuin activity have emerged as the prime targets for NAD plus based interventions. And then it says replenishment of NAD plus rescues mitochondrial regulatory function. Now, I do think we have to be cautious. Just because we know something a molecule does, it doesn't mean the supplement is going to automatically have clinical relevance in all of these areas. But again, in this paper, they're actually wondering what to stack with it. And a lot of this is sort of biochemistry used as a predictive model of what might help. But these are things that are often considered healthy anyway. Flavonoids like quercetin, right, from grapefruit or onions. Curcumin, right, we're familiar with that. Coenzyme Q10, I take that myself. In fact, one of the first episodes of Nutrition Radio, that was one of the cardioprotective ones that got some attention. EGCG from green tea, astaxanthin, and lycopene, right, as far as these carotenoids. These are things that these authors are suggesting that we should stack with it, although later they do admit that we really need clinical trials with each of these to kind of get an idea on any superiority of, one versus the other or which ones to stack. But let me round out this NAD booster discussion with a piece from Scientific American. Now, this is Helen Shen, all the way back in May of 2019. Cancer research points to key unknowns about popular quote-unquote anti-aging supplements. She does start off by saying nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, NAD, a key player in cellular production of energy. This molecule participates in a host of metabolic pathways, and that studies show that boosting NAD levels can extend the lifespan in yeast, worms, and mice. Now, banking on such results, she says, multiple companies are selling dietary supplements containing NAD precursors like NR, right, nicotinamide riboside, and NMN, the nicotinamide mononucleotide. Two major suppliers, Chromadex and Elysium Health, are involved, and they've got people on board from Stanford, Harvard, again, 8 Nobel laureates. It says, but the NR business and some scientists involved have attracted their fair share of criticism as well. Recent clinical trials funded by Chromadex and Elysium show that adults taking NR-containing supplements for 6 to 8 weeks experience increased levels of NAD in their blood without serious side effects, but researchers are still working to prove that NR can actually improve human health. And here's the thing that gave me pause. Recent studies suggest cancer cells of many types depend on NAD to sustain their rapid growth, and that cutting off NAD supply could be an effective strategy for killing certain cancers. So this sounds like the opposite. Quote, it might slow down the aging part, but it might fuel the cancer part, says Versha Banerjee, clinician scientist at the University of Manitoba. We just need to figure out more about the biology of both of those processes. Later in this piece, Helen says, in the Nature Cell Biology study, Rugang Zhang of the Wistar Institute and his colleagues found that in cells entering senescence, rising levels of NAMPT, which is a major NAD-boosting enzyme in mammals, encourage the release of inflammatory and potentially pro-tumor molecules. Mice genetically predisposed toward pancreatic cancer developed more precancerous and cancerous growths when they consumed the NAD precursor NMN. So again, more research is needed, and, quote, we should be cautious, close quote. Very interesting stuff there. Now, let me reiterate, this is a 2019 piece. More research was needed then. It's more needed now. This was really just a hypothesis about the cancer growth thing. NAD, is, of course, is such a ubiquitous, fundamental molecule. It's part of so many different pathways in a cell and does so many things as part of our energy and metabolism and other kinds of signaling. So should you take it? Well, the cop-out is talk to your doctor, but talk to your MD. She or he is going to be able to give you some insights, I think. For me, the price was a little too high until I wait for a little more research to come down the pike. If you're the kind of person that wants to jump on something that's more edgy and, it might work, higher risk, higher reward kind of thing, go for it. Again, talk to your healthcare professional about that stuff. But okay, we've gone over again. And again, this is why we're going to move to a longer format with co-hosts. We have some great co-hosts lined up for season 2 once that kicks off. So give us a little break to kind of figure out what's happened, look forward and plan this kind of thing. Similar topics on Nutrition Radio, though. Sister show to Iron Radio, which we're also going to revamp. That's going to be really fun. So thank you for your support over these last 6 months. I hope we've shared some relevant education and news in the process, and we'll see you soon.
The NutritionRadio.org podcast is for informational purposes only. If you're interested in starting a diet or exercise program, check with your physician, nutritionist, or qualified exercise physiologist in order to make the progress that you need.